Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. And today, Sat means truth, Logos means a study of science, Sattology means the science of truth, study of truth. This term is getting more popular. Please do not use mythology word for Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Vedic scriptures because we have ample of proof. And the proof is, in my latest book, One Arrow, One Kill, I showed that Ramayana is a global phenomena. And I proved it with maps and everything else. You asked me about dates. You have to ask the dating experts. I'm not a dating expert. There are many people who come on our show who talk about dates. Mythology means a study of fake, lie, imagination. And therefore, we have to stop using mythology word. In fact, I can prove to you mythology is very well applicable to the Western historic histories. Now, today we have a very, very special guest. He has written a wonderful translation on Gita Comes Alive, very famous book on Bhagavad Gita with words from Sanskrit. And also he has spoken many places and introductions also you write, very beautiful cover. And you'll shortly see him on the show just now. And he is a great friend, a poet, musician, and also he writes dramas for if any Hollywood star is there, especially Melissa. If you can use his scripts in your movies, that will be amazing. So without delay, let us welcome Sri Jeffrey Armstrong.
Pranams, everyone, and Adi, great to be here today.
Wish you
It's an exciting topic. We're really going to.
So would you like to start on that topic? And then I'll speak today.
All right. Well, the question amongst human beings is, how do I hold my focus? How do I remove my indecision? How do I stay one-pointed and at the same time flexible? If you've studied the work of Bruce Lee at all, you'll see that he had a wonderful saying. On his book, he showed a tombstone with an epitaph that said, "Here lies a once fluid man." So for him, fluidity was the basis of success in martial arts. After you had one-pointedness, you have to know how to stay on target. So the essence of martial arts was there's a just right moment to do the just right thing. And you just wait and wait and wait and go, game over. He weighed 135 pounds and he faced people that were like Chuck Norris, 250 pounds of all muscle. And he just boop, doop, doop, just like surgery, just take them out. So this is what happens when we all are focused upon ourselves as the Atma, as an immortal being visiting this world rather than as a part of the chaos and a part of the herd. We are not part of the herd. We are each individual Atmas.
Now I'll start with this. Thank you, Jeffrey, for a great introduction of the topic we're discussing. And political correctness has become our biggest enemy, even in the spiritual circles. And we all know that how we, in the name of political correctness, we forget ourselves and we stop speaking Sattology or the truth because we want to be acceptable to the society. And in that, I don't want you to be rude also, not rude words, rudeness and arrogance has never helped anyone. But at the same time, Bhagavad Gita says, whatever we speak, it should be pleasing to the other person. At the same time, factual. What do you have to add on that?
Well, I wanted to add something also to that end, the mythology idea, because mithya in Sanskrit means false or untrue. The reason that our culture has had trouble with this is that everyone wants things to have just one level of meaning. And this is the problem of fundamentalist Christianity, fundamentalist religion, and fundamentalist science. They all want to reduce everything to one simple answer, rather than seeing the layers of complexity in it, which is called metaphorical. So metaphor is multiple levels of meaning. So the Vedic knowledge teaches on multiple levels, all in the same passage. A primary level, a secondary, a tertiary. And this is the definition of intelligence, to see the multi-layers in a subject. not become a blind faith fundamentalist or a rabid politician with only one view that disrespects all others, but to show carefully on the levels of meaning the wisdom of what we're doing. And this is the level of metaphor, and the Veda is based on it. Back in the 70s, there was a wonderful bumper sticker that came out by the National Council of English Teachers. It said, "Metaphors be with you. May the force be with you. Metaphors be with you." The force of intelligence is in the multi-level discourse of the Vedic knowledge that sees us as the Atma and then sees the other complexity of our embodied being and responds simultaneously to all those levels without becoming unfocused. As Adi said, then you become a teacher, a teller of Sat.
Yeah. So the biggest challenge is the shades of gray. Now, when we, like for example, when Draupadi was asking, and that I covered in my book, Yudhishthir, the greatest emperor, the greatest Samrat. So in that book, I noticed one incident, and I captured it also there, when Draupadi is asking questions to all the intelligent and great saintly
Elders.
people.
Yeah,
Yes,
all the elders.
all the elders and great saintly people, rishis were there. And so when she was asking those questions, she was asking, where is dharma? Was it right or wrong? And there's a very interesting answer of Bhishma over there. He says, the codes of dharma are very difficult to decipher. So on one ground, Vidura is also right. On one ground, you are also right. On some grounds, Dhritarashtra is also right to be silent. Now, but in this today's world, because we do not manda sumanda matayo manda bhagyat upadruta. In this world, people are dumb and not so intelligent. And I'm not saying all of you, but I mean generally, and I'm especially talking those people dumb who claim to be intelligent, intelligentsia. So they try to make everything black and white, this or that. Isn't that a folly?
Then there are no shades of meaning or nuances.
That's right. And
But the converse of that is nowadays that people are trying to twist language and use language to confuse everyone. So we need a group of articulate individuals who can sort that out and reestablish the correct distinctions.
that's right. I mean, people like you who are doing a human service, definitely get that book, GitaComesAlive.com. And also, Jeffrey has a regular Bhagavad Gita class. So you can attend that also if you want to connect with him. Now, one of the interesting points in the same topic which we are discussing today, whenever there is a discourse, and now it has become more and more open, everything is branded to put down somebody else. And the narratives are built. Social media talks about it, just like what is happening in the elections is happening in the academic world also. The academic world is also highly politicized. According to you, what is the background of this work? Why it is happening?
Well, I made up a word for this that, the word for the Vedic knowledge is Shastra. So I pronounce it Astra. The real war is a war of words and always was. And this is why there's clear historical proof by one simple thing, that India is the place where this conversation's been going on for hundreds of thousands of years. And that is the Sanskrit language, the most precise, most clear, least ambiguous, least confusing, and therefore best tool for truth-telling that exists in human history that we know of, now or before. And all other languages are drifting away from the truth. They have what's called linguistic drift. They're vague and uncertain in various ways. Words can be used to twist the situation. And in my opinion, the Sanskrit terminology is what's going to eventually cure this. The more of us start to use 100 or 200 Sanskrit words, we'll be able to be precise about things that the blind faith religions left purposely vague so they could manipulate everyone.
One of the biggest confusing things are, as I'm writing more in the mainstream newspapers, according to study. Now nobody knows who does the study, who actually was behind the study. We don't know. According to the study, just like in the journalism, it is according to sources. Now nobody knows who the hell the sources were.
And here's another one, Adi. In the midst of this COVID insanity, it's they'll say, so this and this and this and this, and someone says, so here's the way you find out. If someone gives you statistics without demographics, they're lying to you. Let's think about it. Statistics without demographics in relationship to health are lies. So many people did such and such. What kind of people, at what age, at what health, at what state of being? So this is all that we've been fed throughout this whole crazy time. Statistics without demographics.
No, they must have collected statistics of bats and applied to human beings. So they might have done that, though, because you're right, the references are not there. And the references which I saw just now, like today, a very famous book I found by an Indian author called Hindus in America. And I was researching all the books for writing about my next book, The Curse on Natives. And and I was looking at this book was published in 1940s. 1940s. Somebody wrote about America, about the Hindus in America in 1940s. And that time, it's a very old book. And I'll send you the PDF also of that book. Amazing facts about what happened to the native cultures. Now, I was attending one symposium, online symposium. Now, there's so many online symposiums. And I asked just one question. Where is the right history about Native Americans, their food eating habits, their clothes, their businesses? Obviously, they must be having some business, and they were earning money or whatever form of currency they were using to exchange. And what was their industrial output? Because very few people know that all the pyramids in Mexico, I'm talking about Yucatan and Tulum and all these areas in Mexico, and there were pyramids within North American continent, also American, also USA, also, which were raised to the ground by the railroads construction. And some of them are in South Dakota, because there two lines went, one north of the mountain ranges in Colorado, one south of the mountain ranges in Colorado. The two railway lines went there. So where are those without engineering degree? Because most of them were Ashtak, 8 directions. And 8 direction is Ashtak, which is Aztec, which became little bit. I'm trying linguistic. I cannot be as good as you, but little bit. So Aztec became Aztec. Ashtak became Aztec, and Ashtak is Sri Ram uses the word Ashtak when we say, he says Dikpal, uh, calling all the 8 directions to find Sita, and so he calls, and the word Ashtak is mentioned over there.
And
And
that's the root of the word swastika. Swastika
correct.
means the well-being of everyone in the 8 directions. It does not mean something like Hitler uh, erroneously manipulated. So that's a sign of everyone's health and well-being, that a culture is dedicated to looking out in the 8 directions. Is everyone happy? Is everyone doing well? Is everyone healthy?
See, the thing is, like we saw in the vaccine, in the COVID-19 pandemic, and I'm no way politically commenting on it. I know it's a banned word on Google and everywhere else. I'm not doing that. But we have seen, in the case of India supplied free vaccines to America, free, when the America was suffering in February of 2020. But in the case of India, the vaccines were stopped by the US administration. Vaccine components were stopped. The plastic components were stopped. Now, in that scenario, the very famous line came in by some of the politicians in North America, that healthcare is a privilege, not a right. Now, how faulty is that statement?
Ayus, life. Life its very self. In the Vedic thinking, all of us are part of a social body. And this was what was manipulated into the so-called caste system. Although in every civilization, there's been a social manipulation of people at times. There was no caste system in the Vedas. Those who had the knowledge of society were the head, and then there were the arms, and those were the protectors, and then there was the belly, and they made all the food and all the objects that life needs. And then there was the legs, and that was the people who did all the service. All were respected, all were loved, all were adored. And one more thing, Adi, and everyone, that's so missing here. When you said First Nations, you know what I thought of first? That the principle there was all the women in the tribe were the personifications of the land on which they were living, the tribe. So if a man wanted to marry a woman from another tribe, he had to join that tribe. She never went to him. He went to her because she was actually a manifestation of the earth and the way that it was specifically to be protected in that geographical area. So tribes weren't sects. They were protectors of the earth in a particular locale. We are so completely missing this, but this was the basis of the Vedic culture as well, the protection of Matabhumi.
Very true. The land is sacred. And that's what I tell American politicians also. When Hindus settle here, they will give their life for your land because that's a dharma. They fight for the land. Unfortunately, we are seeing something reverse in India happening. Hindus are running away from the land due to excessive violence by Abrahamic community in many parts of India, where the Hindus have become minority and they have been killed ruthlessly. And to them, the Sri Ram's example comes, and Manu Samhita also comes, where you have to protect. If anyone attacks you, it is your responsibility first, before you call the police, to protect it. And so how important is self-defense in Vedic culture?
This is a subject I've specialized in this lifetime. I've done about 7 different styles of martial arts, 3 styles of sword fighting. Of course, I was raised using various guns and weapons. Personally, I don't carry them with me every day, nor do I consider using them on a regular basis, because that's not the principle behind martial arts. The principle behind martial arts is reaching an understanding that violence is only for the protection of that which is sacred, and that all other violence is forbidden against animals, against humans, against everyone. But the way you learn that and the way you keep that is by protecting it. So to the extent that we're able, everyone should be trained to be a protector in situations where it's required to the best of their ability. And at the top of that is the true protectors, the Kshatriyas. And that means hurt and protect. Unfortunately, we teach our police officers and our soldiers just to hurt. And we say, God bless America. We don't say, let's protect the whole world. This sectarian of the use of protection, sectarian attitude toward living entities, this not seeing them as sacred beings, is the core and root problem in all of this. So we need people who become strong and then have the gentleness and vision of everyone as the Atma, as an immortal being. Without those two forces working together, it just doesn't solve the problem.
One of the questions has come from the audience now. This question is, where did the Renaissance, did Renaissance ever happen in Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism? Or do you think Renaissance is needed in Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma? And the context is also there. Context is because they have been taught by the American academic system that Hinduism had many flaws and many people came to correct it. And I'll take the first attempt at that question, and then Jeffrey G, you answer. First of all, Sanatana Dharma has 2 concepts, Shruti and Smriti. And Shruti is unchangeable. It's like a axiomatic truth. but Smriti is local for the current environment. The Smriti has to be in line with the Shruti, otherwise it is becomes out of line, out of sync. Now, Jeffrey, how do you answer this question to this audience?
Dvija, when you have a guru, you had two births, first from your mother, and therefore we're so grateful for all that she went through to make our manifestation in this body here possible. But we're incomplete. We're still inside the egg. We're still the butterfly inside the cocoon until we have a learned person who is living the truth that they're speaking, an acharya, one who moves like they speak, and who is concerned for the ultimate truths that truly give us life. This is acharya and this is guru. So it is said in the Vedic culture that our dvija, or second birth, which all of us are eligible for. There's no system that says you're not eligible. Anyone who's willing to do so is eligible. That willingness is the adhikari. That hunger for the truth is your way in the door. It's your qualification. So then dvija, the guru, male or female guru, acts as the father, and the Veda acts as the mother. And that second birth or renaissance, that new rebirthing, is the basis of Vedic civilization. You might say that the Vedic civilization is a permanent renaissance. That's the actual fact.
And it's cyclical in nature. The ages are cyclical in nature, and in every age the rules also change. Like in Kali Yuga, the rules changed. Krite yadhyayata Vishnu tetayam vijdo makhe dwapari parijay kalau tad hari kirtana. The process of the following this culture also changes in Kali Yuga. Like today,
Desha Kalapatra.
Desh
Desha Kalapatra.
Exactly, according to time, place, circumstances, and it changes. And in that context, Renaissance is also a cyclical topic in Vedic culture.
Of course, because the movement, the Chinese said it very nicely in the Yi King, a movement is accomplished in 6 stages. The 7th brings return, beginning, growth, duration, byproducts, withering, and dying. Within matter, it shouldn't surprise us that everything is going through cycles, in state of entropy or in a state of ascendancy. But that doesn't mean we don't work to be a rebirthing, renewal culture.
And there is another question. We have a lot of new audience today. One of the question comes in from the current conflict in the Middle East also. And just to let you know, we do not discuss political topics because these are political fights. But I can talk to you a little bit about the essence. Is in the Sanatana Dharma, aggressors are always punished. And whosoever is the aggressor, and I leave it up to you, whosoever you consider as aggressor. But general concept is a defender. Generally, again, a lot of things apply here, because what we was defending, what was the case, again, dharma calls in for due diligence. And purva paksha, we call it purva paksha. Purva paksha means you have to backdrop of the conflict and other things going on, and then accordingly you have to see what is rightfully yours or what is rightfully not yours. And what do you have to add on that, because you have perspective on this as well?
This is, again, it takes us back a little bit to the indigenous. Of course, there's a line of dignity where the person is an individual, and that's the basis of the whole system. But we're living in a system that the person as an individual is one thing, but our individuality doesn't take away from the fact that nature is a cooperation. It's a web of cooperation. So while being an individual, and even asserting that when necessary, we do have our own boundary. You see this boundary, see this circle? That's your private circle. Now, which should go past your fingertips to your core without your permission if you are innocent and not being an aggressor. But they might come to warn you of some law of nature, not of humans, of nature that you're violating. So this is where the word dharma is so missing in English and important in Sanskrit. Dharma doesn't mean a man-made conception of law. Dharma means the underlying ritam, the truths of the laws of nature, that if we violate them, we will all be destroyed by nature and then by each other. So because we don't talk enough about the ritam, because we're still in a colonizing society that is extracting everything from nature without giving back, this is our worldview. Extraction is normal. It's not. Giving back what you extracted so it's there for the next generation or next year is the basis of all indigenous cultures around the world. And this is where we're in trouble. And if we don't say this, we're in deeper trouble because we talk about and argue about superficialities.
Yeah, decolonizing our mind has been the biggest challenge so far, and the propaganda continues. It's just, communists were also doing propaganda, and don't think that capitalists are also not doing it. Both are doing propaganda. And if you look at the History Channel, only one side news is given, that how the Allies defeated Axis. But you have not heard the stories of the Axis also. And probably all those stories have disappeared. Like what happened actually in the war, nobody knows that now. But the facts have always been hidden, and I do empathize with a lot of people who were killed mercilessly in any way, shape, or form for no fault of theirs, just because of their faith. Some of them were killed, and and I personally very much against it, because I feel that any kind of Holocaust is a blot on human rights. Now, I'll come back to the point on human rights now, because it's connected to our topics today. On the human rights today, when we talk about human rights, why not we talk about animal rights also? Because they're also American citizens. So where has that disappeared? When we talk about dharma for humans, what about dharma for animals? And unfortunately, we don't talk about it.
And the same truth turned around, the justification for the European people, essentially the Catholics, to be very specific. And then the Muslims did the same thing. Not all Christians, not all Muslims, but groups of them went out and said, God has told us to take everything. And therefore, if somebody doesn't believe in the Supreme Being the way we do, they're not a human. They just look like one. They're actually an animal. And here's their other lie. And we can do anything we want to animals. Well, the divine answer is no, you can't, because they're entities just like you. They're atmas just like you. And nature is sacred, and you're beholden to nature to do the least amount of harm, not to do anything you want because you think you're special. So, ladies and gentlemen, nobody here is special. Everyone is special.
And that is deep.
Not somebody. No, everybody.
And that is debunked by Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam as well, completely. Because in one shot, it's completely debunked by that one line of Yajurveda called Ishopanishad, 41st chapter Yajurveda. So it's completely debunked over there. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. Now,
Jagatyam Jagat.
Tena Tektena Bhunjita Magrida Kasajita.
High five.
So so that brings to another question. When we say that the God men, the people who become custodian of God in a business, like we know all the organized, they become the gatekeepers of what I say is God's words. And most of the people are not encouraged to read their own religious texts. And then what happens is you have to depend on the interpretation of somebody whom you don't even know whether it was qualified, he was appointed, or how did he ascend to that position. Nobody knows that. Now this whole propaganda goes on that if you do not follow my word, then you are disobeying the God. But nobody has read the God's word. Like, for example, many people have not read Quran. Many people have not read New Testament. Many people have not read Old Testament. Many people have not read Bhagavad Gita. No, many people have not read any of the literature. But they depend on interpretations. But in Vedic culture, it is encouraged. Evam buddhe param buddhva samstabhyatmanam atman. Third chapter. Bhagavad Gita says that you have to use your intelligence, read, and you decipher Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Again, your point came on to the Guru also. So how in the we can emphasize people, because that culture of Guru Shishya is not there everywhere. It is predominantly in the Vedic culture. How do you emphasize other people to also read and decide intelligently where they come from? Did you get my question or you missed out? Can you hear me? Okay. So what is your view on that, what I said just now?
I'm sorry. I thought you were asking it to the audience.
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, say it again then.
So the point is that in the Vedic Shastra, we have Guru, Sadhu, Shastra principle, and everyone is encouraged to read the Shastra, but not in other Abrahamic faiths. I mean, they are given interpretation and they have to assume that is the word of God. Doesn't it create a confusion?
As long as we remember that each individual has a sacred right to their own consciousness, as long as they're not using that sacred right to destroy the planet. So here's the principle, that a proper religion, actually, religion is the wrong word because it means religare, a group of rules. Legal is from ligare, ligaments, so ligatures. So laws or ligatures or rules to bind us are supposed to be the laws of nature. And we're supposed to be matching our behavior to nature. So any culture that is not a culture of sustainability is not properly religious. But the Dharma culture is much more specific. It's from the beginning and all the way through our free will, which we continue to be an individual here visiting like everyone else. Unless we're seen as the Atma, as an immortal being visiting the temporary, all the political confusion comes from that. As soon as we can see everyone, namaste, see you all, look at yourself for a moment. You're the Atma, you're an immortal being. Now, if we all see that at the start and go like that and say, yes, how can we cooperate with nature is the next question. And in doing that, how can we cooperate with each other? And because if each of us is distinctive and different in certain ways, all of us will be different in our performance. That's the sequence. That sequence has been lost. And when it's lost, the conversation degenerates into chaos because we don't know who we really are. And then the rest of it falls down from there. We don't treat everyone else as the Atma. We don't see the laws of nature as something we all have to cooperate with. So our conversation should be, what is the law of nature we're missing here? Not, here's what I think.
Most of the people, they are not even aware of laws of nature. And this is the first time you are thinking laws of nature, and that is called karma. And
the Ritam,
which is the laws of nature. So don't think that just America has laws. It's the whole nature has laws. So,
and to get along internationally, we have to all agree that we're on a planet and that we have to become planetary citizens while we're local to our area. We have to see each other as part of a planetary whole. And in an ideal world, we'll start cooperating across political boundaries because the laws of nature don't recognize those political boundaries.
See, the problem in the world is that people think that man-made laws are God's laws, which is the problem of the God men. And God men, I'm talking about from the Abrahamic literature, because God is not a Hindu word. It's a Sanskrit, it's not in English, it's a German word, German. And Jeffrey has spoken a lot about God and about what does God mean. One of the previous shows of Jeffrey, you can go to the playlist on Sattology and you can check out one of the past videos of Jeffrey. Check it out only. One of the first videos. And so the laws of nature will act. You can see Roman Empire is not there, Greek Empire is not there, even Mahabharat, Yudhishthira Samrajya is not there. and many other empires have come and gone. And Bhagavad Gita says very directly, people think that they've conquered the earth. I'm just telling you, earth is going to stay here, not you. Your karma is going to decide your next destination. So if you take the laws of nature in your hand, you're making the biggest mistake because there is no attorney to defend you over there. So,
And I'd like to give everyone, Adi, three Sanskrit words, and they're from the Yoga Sutras, where the three practices of yoga are defined as tapasya, svadhyaya, ishvara pranidhan, kriya yoga. So just try to make it simple, everyone. There are three things every individual needs to do. Tapasya means some practice that improves them, self-improvement practice. That's called tapasya. Makes you sweat, improves you, makes your muscles stronger, makes your mind stronger. You learn, you diligently apply yourself. Then svadhyaya, a correct self-definition. We're all immortal beings visiting a planet. Okay, good. And then ishvara pranidhan means the laws of nature are actually the devas, the divine beings of nature. And then this is what all the ancient civilizations saw, that there were persons all around them, personified laws of nature, who had a purpose, and that purpose was being followed by them. And we needed to cooperate with each one of these different devas and devis, who were not the supreme being, but they're the local being that are running our planet in each area, in each department, in the air, in the wind, in the water, in the land, in the soil, with all the creatures. The Vedic culture and the indigenous cultures made friends with and cooperated with and worked with all those beings. We have lost this. And the Vedic Renaissance is trying to bring it back.
wonderful answer. And Jeffrey, one of the things which really comes to my point is, like, right now, try mantra meditation. And I think most of these problems will go away because it is important, swadhyay. And also don't leave jnana, tapa, and dan. The yajna, tapa, and dan. These three are recommended activities on the social sphere because it purifies. Pavanani manishina. Even the intelligent people are purified. One thing I see a problem with the American academics is they don't engage in all these three activities. They're highly intellectual oriented. They try to think everything in the brain, from the brain, but never try to assimilate what they are talking. And therefore, what happens is that they are teaching like a parrot, and they will only quote amongst their approved coterie of people. So, like, for example, somebody will quote Ludwig, somebody will quote Karl Marx. And see, there are much better philosophies available outside that academic coterie of, I call it the cabal of academicians, because the traditions have maintained the original culture. Others have not. So the traditions are existing in the Vedic culture, and that's where you get to see the actual implementation part of it. Like very famous one great scholar Prabhupada spoke that Sanatana Dharma is implemented through Varnashram. Very simple one-line word, but it has a deep meaning. Half the people are struggling with that particular. It has come from traditions. So what do you have to add on that, Jeffrey?
Well, Heidi, this is very important what you said. And actually the history of it is quite important to understand. This is, again, I have to say this, separate the Catholic Church from religion or yoga or higher thought. Just think of them as a very large international corporation that was domineering the world. It's the reason the Catholic Church was called the Roman Catholic Church is it was just the extension of the old Roman Empire in a new outfit, in a new dress, calling itself a religion. So it's very important to understand that that empire of conquest denied universities authority and said, only we are the authorities. You can talk about knowledge, we'll let you do that. But at first, they didn't. So their first response to knowledge was to kill, burn libraries. The only two religions in the world that are known as library burners are Catholicism and Islam. All Muslims? No, we already did that. Don't go there. A particular politicized form, a toxic corporation called Colonizing Islam, burned libraries, burned the Library of Alexandria, burned the libraries in India, because they feared knowledge and had consolidated power. And then finally, in the West, when the religions couldn't stop knowledge because it was necessary for life, they made a deal with them and said, we're in charge of everybody's soul. You get their mind only. And this is where the split happened. So right now, the mastery in universities is masturbation. It's knowledge as an end in itself, not connected to life. There are many people within academia fighting against this in spite of its nature. So not every academic is this way, but academia is that way by definition. So be careful that it will take the soul away from your education, from your learning.
Thank you all for watching today. And it was a great show, Jeffrey, for spending your time with us. And as usual, get his book, gitacomes.alive.com, join his sessions, and do join Sattology sessions every day. We have one or the other session going on, and a lot of premieres every day. And we have 3 websites, sattology.org. Please write articles over there. It's a public viewpoint, sattology.com, only when you are selected over there. It's a narrative website. And there is a everydaychant.com, where you can join us for daily Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita classes. We are on podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We are on Google Plays. Everywhere. We are everywhere on Twitter, Facebook. Connect anywhere you want to connect with us. And thank you for all the Sattology team who works behind the scenes. I never acknowledged in earlier videos, so thank you all for making it happen. And all the viewers, if you like this video, comment on it, ask questions to Jeffrey. He'll answer it when he sees them on the YouTube as well. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Adi.